So I get on my bike and I start riding to the school. And on the way there, I see him walking home, and he was beaten up by 9 or 10 people. And it was because he was white. So it was my first lesson in how things can go, because people, no matter who you are, we're all the same. And whenever I decided to join the Army, well, when I joined the Army, my mom was telling me, because she'd been in the Navy, and she was telling me, she said, oh, they'll teach you how to put your makeup on, all this good stuff like that. But they had just started the first co-ed platoons. So we were in a building where, and I'm probably going to say part of this wrong because I can't remember all the terminology, but there was one floor of men, one floor of women, then men, then women. So it was the first time they had experimented in the Army with mixing the men and the women. And I thought a lot of myself at that time, because I thought, I'm keeping up with these men. How good am I? I'm tougher than I thought. And by the time we got out, I was able to do like 75 push-ups, set-ups, all that stuff within a 3-minute period of time. And it was about what the men were doing. And I thought I was really proud of myself until I met who was going to be my husband and found out where he was in an all-men fort. He could do 300. The men that came out of there could do 300. So it was my first experience of seeing how they lowered the standards so the women could meet what the men did. We had bicycles. We had even a bowling alley in our garage. He went to an auction, found a bowling alley, and we played with that thing every day. When we ended up playing with one of the neighbors, and we didn't realize, we were too young to realize that he had been drinking. I was probably around 9 or 10. He comes over next door and said, let me show you how to throw that ball. He's going to teach us how to bowl. And we watched him, and he spits on the bowling ball and rubs it all around it. We wouldn't play. Even after my mom walked, we found out I was pregnant with Eric. They wanted me to have an abortion with him. They said he'll be deformed. It's going to be awful, because it was only like 5 or 6 months after the radiation when I found out I was pregnant. I was a couple months pregnant then. They didn't have all that fancy stuff then, is what they do now. And whenever I told him, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Because my dad when he left, my mom wanted her to abort me. And my mom went through a lot to make sure that didn't happen. Back in 1958, you figure, hey, I'm going to be by myself. And so Carol made this wedding cake. And she asked the woman, she said, Carol asked her, do you want to come pick it up? She goes, oh no, you can deliver it. And it was like a lot of extra money, because it was like over 2 hours away. So I'm in the back seat, the cake's in front of me, and the woman never told Carol that it was a hill that she would have to go up. And that there was a lot of hills. Some of them weren't so big. But the last one we had to go up was really big. So we're going up this hill. I've got this wedding cake, 3-tier wedding cake in front of me. And I don't know what I was going to do, because it's cake. What are you going to do? And I told Carol, because she had put it together, had the woman told her what the roads were like, she would have never put the cake together until we got there. I said, Carol, I think your cake's falling apart. Carol, the cake's going to fall. What do you want me to do? Carol, the cake's falling apart. So I tried to grab it, but when I say that cake just about literally fell into pieces, it really did. There was crumbs everywhere. Luckily, Carol brought extra frosting with her. And we get there, and she's getting nervous. Mom, you gotta quit, because this is just making me a nervous wreck. You gotta stop. Okay, I don't know what to do though. So I'm holding this cake. And we get up to where the wedding is gonna be at this park. Carol comes out, and she looks at the cake, and I don't know how she kept it together, but she just kept a cool head. We take the cake over to the table. She takes it apart, and then she had it barely enough to cover most of the cake. But there was still this bald spot that there was going to be. So she was just very quick on her feet, just smart as a whip. And she went to where the flowers were decorating different things, and she started pulling flowers off of stuff. And then she started sticking the flowers where the bald spot was. And the whole time the photographer's taking pictures of the whole event. She's taking video of it, because I'm thinking, how is she going to fix this? This is a woman's wedding. And whenever she got done, you could have never told that it had been just demolished, because she was pasting back some of those cake crumbs with the icing that she had.
Oh, wow.
And the photographer, when we got done, said, "Disaster averted." So that was funny.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you.
The guitar.
But did you guys remember the Menford quilt that they auctioned off or raffled off? I made that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to put my head.
I think
The more you know.
yeah. I think on my Pinterest I've got the pictures of the other quilts. Some of the quilts on my Pinterest are quilts that people brought me to quilt for them. The one thing that I will say that I've been very blessed, because I did not raise Carol and Roy in church. I did not grow up in a Christian household. I had good parents, but we were not churchgoers whenever I was growing up. My sisters, they raised them in church, but they hadn't gotten to that point whenever I was at home. And the one thing that I have been so blessed with is I was 42 years old whenever I came to Christ, but I'm hard-headed. It took a lot for me to come to him, because I don't know why. I'm just, hard-headed. And my mom was sick, and she was talking to people that weren't there because she had dementia. And she got in the corner. My walls were white, and she was helping me mop. Not really, but I gave her something to do. So she's mopping, she looks up, and she's got these two white walls, and she starts talking to herself, and she's starting to get really mad, and she's mad, and she's mad. And then my husband's walking through, and he's sick, and he's talking to himself because we didn't know his oxygen levels were low. So I've got her talking to herself, him talking to himself. My youngest one had just come back from his dad, and his dad had told him all this stuff that wasn't true, so he was mad at me all the time. He's stomping through. And I just look up, I said, "Lord, just get me through this, and I'll follow you for the rest of my life." So at 42, I sat down at the kitchen table, and that's when I made my decision. Well, then once my mom, we ended up having to put her in a retirement center, and everything kind of calmed down. We started going to church, and I've been totally blessed to be able to see my kids all come to Christ. And I have found that the Lord knows when you're going to be his, because he knows the end from the beginning, because time means nothing to him. So if he knows that you're going to accept him, he is there for you. And there is many, many times that he has stepped in. I would never have gotten the job that I have had it not been for the things that happened for me to be able to get that first interview. And every step of the way, there's things that I thought, why in the world is this happening to me? Just like when you get cancer, I was afraid I wouldn't live to see my kids grow up. And I thought, what good can come of this? But as life has gone by, I have seen all the hardships that I have faced that were able to be of benefit to me, not only in my work life, because I worked with people who had to take care of parents. They were sick, or a spouse was sick. And I knew what it was like to be told, if you have to take 3 weeks off to have your treatments, we have to fire you, because there was no such thing as FMLA back then. And I've learned that the way that Christ saw me through, and the way he teaches us to love each other and to lead each other, that's how I did my job. When I became supervisor, I made sure that I led the way Scripture said to lead. And the one thing I want to leave my kids with is that they follow him. And even when you don't know why you're going through what you're going through, there's a purpose for it. And it doesn't come back void when you stay faithful. Even if you get mad at him, because I've gotten mad at God. He's got big shoulders. He can handle it. it's still all panned out, and every bit of it has helped me at different points and times in my life. So that's what I would leave them with. Don't lose your faith. Just say, Lord, I don't know why you're doing this, but I'm going to trust you that it's for a good reason. So, and then you never say goodbye. You just say, till we meet again. So that's what I want to leave them with.